I'm nearing the end of my MBA, and in this video, I thought that I would do a reflection on what the past 2 years has been like, as well as to talk about what my reasons were for doing an MBA in the first place. In this video, I'm going to share my pre-MBA career and why I left. I'm going to talk about the skills and knowledge gap that I had and what I wanted to address by coming to business school. And lastly, I'm going to talk about why I chose the University of Colorado to go to for my MBA. I've put timestamps for these sections down below, so feel free to jump around if you want to skip to a different section. Now let's get right to it and talk about what I did before I came to the MBA program. I worked in media and advertising for about 8 years in different roles. I started off as a media buyer, and then a media planner, and then I switched to media sales. I very quickly became the top salesperson in that company, and then I started feeling really unfulfilled in the job that I was doing because I felt like I wanted to have more of an impact, not just in the company that I was working for, but also just in the world in general. So I took some time off and then I launched an e-commerce business on Amazon. At the same time, I was working as a real estate agent, and the way I differentiated myself in Singapore was to really focus on the expat market with people moving from places like the UK, America, Australia, and I would help those people find their apartment rentals as well as advise them on schooling and other things for their children. But deep down inside, I knew that I wanted to run my own business or I wanted to buy a business. And I knew that I wasn't quite ready for that because I didn't have some of the business skills which I felt were essential to run a business properly. And that's what drove me to come back to school, spend 2 years developing and getting all the knowledge and skills that I need. And so as soon as I'm done with the program, I can figure out where in the world that I want to live and then either buy and build a business or start a business from scratch. Now I want to talk about the skills and knowledge gap that was kind of missing before that I've developed now through the last 2 years in this program. The main gap that I really needed to fill was the financial aspects of running a business. When I was working in media and advertising, I learned how to manage clients, I learned how to do sales, I learned a lot of operational aspects of the business, but the financial aspect of a business was really the missing piece. I learn the best when I'm in a classroom, reading the textbook, engaging with the teachers, engaging with other students, and then applying that to real life. And I knew that going back to do my MBA, learning the courses that I needed to learn would be hugely beneficial for me over the long term. I think the best way to share this with you is to tell you about some of the classes that had the biggest impact on me while I was here, and the ones that I think are going to have a lasting impact on me when I'm out there running my own business after I graduate. The 4 classes that have really helped me are Entrepreneurial Finance, Venture Capital Law, Applied Financial Management, and then Entrepreneurship combined with New Venture Creation and New Venture Launch. Now, I won't go into too much detail about these courses, but I will say that they helped me develop a very good overall understanding of financing in the very early stage of companies, how to determine the feasibility of a business, how to go about seeking investments, how to structure your company so that it's attractive to investors. We learned about how to manage the financial situation of companies while not putting the company at risk for distress. We learned about how to calculate and monitor your cash burn situation, when you need to raise additional financing, what are some of the laws and regulations that you need to follow when you go raise capital. And also right now, currently what we're doing is actually launching a business, and I chose to partner with someone in the class who actually wants to launch their business here in the USA, whereas I plan to launch my business in Asia or Australia. And so I decided to help another group during this time. One of the absolute highlights of the program was the Venture Capital Law class. And that class is taught by a law professor named Brad Bernthal, but it is co-taught by a guy named Jason Mendelson, who is one of the authors of the legendary book Venture Deals. I assure you that if you work in VC or someone who's just entering the VC space, it's very likely that you've heard of this book. And the author of that book co-taught that class. And if I'm not mistaken, he taught somewhere between 4 to 8 classes. I can't remember exactly, but it was incredible. Before the MBA program, I wasn't feeling very confident to turn my dreams of entrepreneurship into a reality. Without having sufficient business knowledge, I felt like the risk of starting my own business or buying a business was too high, and I felt that there was a much higher probability of me driving that business into the ground. And I wasn't at the point in my life where I was willing to take such risk. I felt like getting the education would give me the confidence to go out there and make my dreams a reality. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is why I came to the Leeds School of Business here in Boulder, Colorado. If you know anything about the startup community, venture capital, and entrepreneurship, Colorado is one of the most thriving places to launch startups. When I applied for the program, I knew that Boulder, Colorado was one of the top 5 places in the nation to launch startups or to be engaged in venture capital. And coming to CU Boulder was going to be the best way possible to immerse myself into this startup and venture capital world. And CU Boulder definitely did not let me down on that. Now, if you've been on my channel for some time, you'll know that I'm really into health, fitness, and nutrition. There are a lot of natural and organic companies that launch their businesses in Boulder, Colorado. The natural and organic space here in Colorado is very interesting. And Boulder was ranked as the #1 fittest place in the whole of the US. And just by looking around, it really seems to be that way. People here are super active. It's one of the best places for winter in the US, has the best mountains for skiing, and a lot of rock climbing and outdoor activities taking place all the time here. Let's talk about my entrepreneurial motivations. So why become an entrepreneur? Well, there's 5 main things. The first one is freedom. Freedom to me means being able to make my own decisions and not being bound by the typical constraints that you would have when working in a traditional job. And the next one is time. Being an entrepreneur or business owner is going to demand a lot more time from me, but at least I'm going to have control of my own time. I can actually structure work around my life instead of structuring my life around work. And that would allow me to pursue other passions or interests that I have. The next reason for becoming an entrepreneur is the impact that I can have on this world. What I mean by impact is being the one that's responsible for either creating something or owning something that's making a difference to people's lives. The fourth thing would be the challenge. I am very attracted to the challenge of being an entrepreneur. It's going to require resilience, creativity. It's going to be demanding, and you need a willingness to take risk. And now more than ever, I'm feeling the entrepreneurial drive, and I'm willing to take the risk and sacrifice my time and hard work to make something happen. And finally, the very last thing is satisfaction. I believe that achieving success on my own terms is going to lead to much more pride in my work, and it will give me a much higher sense of accomplishment than I could ever get in a traditional job. And I hope this video was helpful to any one of you who are considering getting your MBA. If you want to follow along with my life, then it would be great if you subscribe to this channel, and I hope that I will see you in one of my future videos.